Hi folks, John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Meliorvia. I'm here with Mikey tonight.
What's up, John? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. You?
No, just living life, man.
Glad to hear it. Thought we'd talk a little Cthulhu tonight because we haven't done that in a couple of weeks. And thought we'd kind of get into something that's, I think, kind of core to the horror role-playing experience. Tell me, Mikey, when you think spooky stories, what do you think about first?
Going back to my childhood, do you remember the movie Halloweentown?
Sure.
That movie just freaked me out because of all the, cosmetic appearances and just all that weirdness.
Okay.
Stuff like that from my childhood. Those like first nostalgic, creepy instances, those are what creep me out.
All right, I got you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
When I think fantasy role-playing, Dungeons and Dragons, I think, hey, that adventure is going to happen in a dungeon, right? Kind of iconic, where a lot of those classic adventures take place, and even a lot of the newer ones too. I mean, dungeon crawls are dungeon crawls for a reason. When you get into horror gaming, I think the iconic location for a horror adventure is a haunted house. I mean, there's a reason we go to haunted houses for Halloween, right?
I don't know why we do it, but we do it.
I think the folks at Chaosium are kind of clued into that idea as well, that whole kind of iconic element of the haunted house. And so they've got their Mansions of Madness collection here. And what this is 5 adventures for Call of Cthulhu. They're all kind of standalone adventures, and they're all kind of a solid, could be a one-shot, could be 3 nights of gameplay, depending upon how fast your group goes through things. This could be a way to introduce new folks into playing Call of Cthulhu, but probably not the very best adventures for a first-time game master.
So is it like just 5 different stories, basically, or 5, kind of like that last one we did, that last bit we did, where there's 5 different aspects of it?
That's exactly what it is. So Mansions of Madness is, they call this Volume 1, Behind Closed Doors. And this is actually the 3rd edition of Mansions of Madness that Call of Cthulhu has published. The first one was for, I think, the 3rd edition of the game. The second one, I'm pretty sure, was for the 5th or 6th. And then this one is for 7th edition Call of Cthulhu. 2 of those 5 adventures have been in all 3 versions. The other 3 are brand new for this one. The 2 that are preserved are named Mr. Corbett and The Cracked and Crooked Manse. And the 3 brand new adventures are The Code, The 19th Hole, and The House of Memphis. Again, each of these are standalone adventures. This is not a campaign, though you probably could take the same characters through all 5 if they somehow managed to survive. The difference being that, when you get into Masks of Nyarlathotep or Beyond the Mountains of Madness, that is a big chunk of adventure that your players are going to have to meet up with for, honestly, a year or more of regular weekly gameplay. This one doesn't have to be that big of a commitment. Like I said, you could play this in between 1 and 3 sessions, depending upon whether your players decide to explore every nook and cranny of each adventure, and whether how long that game session is.
How does that setting work? Is it the same house or same mansion, or is it just different mansions?
No, they are 5 completely different mansions.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Like I said, these are shorter adventures. If you were to play them all consecutively, it'd probably be about 3 months or so of gameplay. All of them are set in the 1920s. That's kind of the iconic classic era for Call of Cthulhu adventures. 4 of them are set in New England, really the Boston area specifically, and 1 of them is set in Scotland. And I'm betting you can guess which one that is by the names.
I'm staying away from Boston. I don't know about you. We're kind of on the East Coast already. I don't want to go anywhere near there.
That's fair. Lovecraft put a lot of interesting things into the Boston area and Massachusetts area. If you're a Cthulhu investigator, yeah, things are going to get real when you start exploring New England. Each of these does a solid job of presenting ideas for if you wanted this to be the launching point for a campaign, or if your characters were going to keep doing things after that adventure. So they don't have to just be one-shots. There are plenty of hooks and plenty of additional things for the characters to explore. Really, the intent is that one adventure gives you the meat of the storyline for it.
I'm still trying to learn with you about the different types of what would you call them of Cthulhu? The different shades
entities.
of Cthulhu? Yeah, entities.
Yeah, so a Shoggoth is kind of a creature that has a lot of eyes, a lot of mouths, and a lot of pseudopods that it can extend. And to me, that's what that looks like. It's probably going on. It's reaching out a pseudopod and wrapping that guy up and pulling it towards a mouth.
Yeah, it looks
and
like
all those little green globs on there are probably eyeballs.
He's out of luck. That's all I know.
He's having a real bad day. There are a lot of handouts in here for each of these adventures, so you don't have to cut your book up. All those handouts are available in a PDF download right from Chaosium's site. That's freely available. You just go there, click it, and it's in a PDF. One thing that's not included in those downloads, though, is there's some really compelling artwork in here. A lot of the NPCs have black and white photo style illustrations for them. Like here we got an illustration of Bernard Corbett from the Mr. Corbett adventure. And I think those are really evocative. Unfortunately, they are not in the handouts. So those are things where you're going to want to hold up your book and show those pieces of artwork off when you're introducing those NPCs and describing them to the players. The handouts themselves, though, you've got newspaper clippings and journal entries and full color maps. So they're going to really help set the tone for your players when they get each of these. It's going to really help immerse them into the adventure. Each of these 5 adventures do have very different tones. They deal with different mythos entities. And really, this is kind of a survey class in the different elements of the Cthulhu mythos, so that your players, if they're not familiar with it and they do play through all 5 of these, they're going to learn about a lot of different elements and a lot of different angles on the way things can go when you're dealing with these Lovecraftian entities.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too. I was going to say, if it was me and I wanted to play this, would I struggle a whole bunch if I wanted to just play this knowing nothing about, the Cthulhu lore?
Absolutely not. And that's why I mentioned this is really a solid set of adventures if you wanted to introduce somebody into the mythos, because the investigators probably don't know a whole lot either. So if the players aren't really familiar with that, they can be learning along with their characters. And keep in mind, what they're learning may not be the full truth. It might just be a portion of the truth, or they might jump to conclusions that are completely wrong. And that's just part of the investigative process sometimes. I did mention that you get kind of a survey of the mythos, and it's important to note that each of these 5 different houses are not connected, and they are infested and haunted in different ways. I think that does make it really compelling, so that if you do play through each of these, not even necessarily in order, not even necessarily with the same characters, but you're going to have a very different experience in each of those 5 adventures. This is a 224-page book. It is more or less full color. There's a lot of page yellowing and tone to make things look kind of 1920s-esque. A lot of the Art Deco style that's really become kind of iconic to Cthulhu books. But a lot of the artwork is in black and white, just to be true to that kind of black and white photos appropriate to the era. It is 224 pages, and it is $42.99. It's here on the shelf of all the cool Cthulhu stuff right here at Immortals Inc.
Beautifully said. And, if I may note, I kind of know how to read prices on the backs of books now, as John showed me, so it just makes me more dangerous now.
And you are very dangerous, Mikey.
Hell yeah. Okay. Later, guys.